Hey fam. Oh, today's episode is inspired by a TikTok that I was blessed to have received from my previous self this morning of a reading that I did 3 years ago, which is just wild to even think about. And it's so funny to me because when I initially started listening to it, I saw zoom out on the top and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And it was me pulling cards from my Starseed Oracle deck. And I was also noticing, like, my background. I was at my then boyfriend's place, and 1 year post-divorce, like, just so many things, right? So much energy has shifted since then. But again, zoom out, right? And I went on to talk about having a perspective shift, which is so funny because perspective is one of the words I've gotten tattooed on me recently. And how we so often get caught up in all the details of being here on this planet. We often take things personal and we get so lost in our everyday life that we don't zoom out, we don't see the bigger picture. And in this reading, I was talking about zooming out, seeing things from a larger perspective, and knowing that it's not all about you. Birds are going nuts. It is not all about you. This came up for me several months ago, and it really stuck when I heard it because I was like, like, little background story. I was in Canada and I had gone down to the river for the day, and I was walking home in my bikini top and shorts, and I stopped at a convenience store on the corner. And I walked in to get a drink because it was hot as balls outside. And this older gentleman in his 50s walked up and was standing at the cooler right next to me. And he starts to strike up a conversation, and he asked me if I had been the one that was, walking down the street. And I was like, I mean, I just came from the river, so yeah. And I can look back now and tell where my guard was up and where I could just feel the energy of, like, where this conversation was going, if you will. And it was so interesting because on my walk to the convenience store, I was like thinking about my soulmate, my partner, my future person, if you will. And this man strikes up a conversation in the gas station. Mind you, he's like in his 50s, heavier set, just totally not my jam. Not that I have any problem with talking to people, but I could just feel the energy. And so I tell him, yes, that was me walking, and that he went on to ask me, do you work out? You look like you work out. And just like rolled my eyes, and I'm like, yep. And he proceeds to ask me where I work out. And I said, at home, doing, breath work and qigong and powerlifting and things like that. Even though I probably hadn't done a squat in months. Neither here nor there. And he proceeds to ask me if he can take me out for a drink, which I politely declined and wished him on his merry way. And I walked out of the convenience store, and I could just feel this anger and frustration brewing underneath the surface. And I just started screaming at the sky. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I ask for my person, and then you send me this person who's so not meant for me. Like, what the fuck? Like, where did that get crossed, right? And then all of a sudden it hits me, and I hear, did you ever stop to think that it's not just about you? And I felt like a freight train hit me in the chest. I was like, oh, okay. What do you mean? Such a Leo thing for me to say. What do you mean it's not all about me? And what I then heard was that you are other people's karma. You are the lesson for other people. And I was like, huh. Because I had experienced, up to that point, so much rejection in my life. It's been one of my core wounds, especially as a projector. Like, I just have experienced a lot of rejection in my life, from people, places, and things. And it's been a hard lesson, but just one that I, understand is what I signed up for. And in that moment, roles were reversed in a way. But I had to zoom out. I had to recognize that God, source, universe, however you want to call it, was working through me for this other person's lesson. I was that other person's lesson. I was the one doing the rejecting. And it's so interesting because we're all mirrors of each other, right? So it's like a lot of what I have experienced, right? I am on the flip side now. And when you're on the flip side, it's interesting because you catch yourself almost like, and I've had this rise several times recently, of like taking things on as my own when knowing that they're actually not, right? That they are happening through me for a reason, to be a lesson for someone else, and that I can approach it from a place of compassion and love, and obviously still have boundaries and things like that, but that it doesn't have to be harsh, but that I also understand what someone else is going through, so I can have the empathy for it, right? It's like such a two-sided coin. And in that moment, everything clicked, and it's been like 6 months. It's been since August. It's now January when I'm recording this. That I have been put in a lot of these situations where it's not about me. And I have had to deliver a lot of things. I've had to deliver some hard messages that I was getting lost in the sauce. But when I zoom out, I realize that it's just source working through me, because I am a conduit for light. And not to get caught up in all the spiritual jargon, but if you know, you know. And not taking it personally when these things come up. And so that really hit me. And I have been taking that with me everywhere I've gone, and I have spread the word to others as I'm spreading it on here, because this is the ripple effect, right? You'll get to a point in your healing journey where you don't have anything left to heal, and you end up being on the other side of where you used to be. And now I am able to look at others, right, from the lens of, where I used to be, right? It's just me giving that back to another version of me, but in a softer way, perhaps. And it's just interesting when you zoom out and you look at life that way, rather than getting lost in the sauce and taking things personal, because it's so easy for us as a freaking star in a human meat suit to get lost in the sauce of, oh, this person did that, and blame and shame and guilt and all the things. And it's like, when you let go of all of that, what is the core lesson? What is the core thing that is coming up? Because there's oftentimes a lot more there that is revealing to us. And to know that when you have these interactions, right, like that was just me having an interaction with a other version of myself. It was just being projected through the lens, into a male body and all the things. And when you zoom out and you realize, like, why am I here? What is the greater purpose to all of this? It lifts such a weight from your shoulders, because you don't take things personal. You realize that everything is happening for a reason. And if I learned anything on the mushrooms last week, it's that nothing is really real. It's all our perception. So if you perceive something to be fake or not real, it's likely not. And I said on one of the previous videos on here, I talked about my mushroom trip and how I was sitting in what felt like Candyland, right? And I had this moment of realizing, like, I have created Candyland. I have created this world where, yeah, it may feel delulu for someone who's like, what do you mean? You just live in Candyland? Like, for me, that looks like not being bothered by all the small things, right? When something doesn't go right, it's not for me, moving on. I don't carry that attachment and that weight anymore like I used to. And realizing that nothing is permanent and everything will pass. And same with emotions. Like, I was watching something the other day that talked about emotions and how emotions really only last 90 seconds. The reason why they last more is because we get attached to them and we create a story, or we're looking for a logical story or answer as to why we're emotional. When you can just be emotional and cry without anything else inside the box that you're in that moment, you'll be surprised with how quickly things pass. And I've been experimenting with this more recently, that when I notice myself feeling emotional, I don't attach anything to it. I'm just so present in my body that I'm with whatever emotion is coming up. I don't attach a story. I don't try to look for a logical answer. I don't try to look to external sources as to, like, what just made me so emotional. Pinpoint it, feel it, let it move, and then it's done. And it doesn't have this hamster wheel effect. Again, perspective shift. It's not always about us. Sometimes it's literally just letting the emotion move, because tears are magic. Emotions are magic. And as someone who used to hate being emotional, I have just feel like I am slowly overcoming that in a way, right? Like, being open and vulnerable and sharing myself with the world. And knowing that being the embodiment is what helps other people. That's how other people learn. I don't need to teach a course on this. I don't need to sit down and charge someone, thousands of dollars for it. It's just, this is part of being human. And again, when you can detach from all the things and just do what makes you happy, life shifts, life changes when you don't get attached to all the things and you just let things flow. Because that's truly what we came here for. And that is for us, right? To slow down, to enjoy every moment, to take what we can, to learn what we want, to create what we want, to put that out in the world. We realize there's so much more to this life than everyday 9 to 5 money matrix, whatever you want to call it. We put so much emphasis on those things, and that's truly not meant for us. Hold, please. And we're back. See, and part of me would just be like, we need to edit that out. I'm like, why? It's probably a sign for someone. You were probably thinking of something when that happened. Again, just like noticing things that can be a distraction, to zoom out and see, again, why that just happened, right? Everything happens for a reason. And so my invitation to you is to see things from a different perspective. You can start small. It doesn't have to be this big thing. But it's kind of like muscle training. The more that you do it, the more that you detach, the more that you zoom out, the more that it's hawk medicine, right? It's being able to see things from a higher perspective. When you can zoom out and just kind of picture yourself on a star, if you will, overlooking everything. Burping for confirmation. you realize that you don't have to be attached to anything. And that a lot of what we attach ourselves to, we're trying to give meaning to it, when really we're just meant to be. Not all these things that we set ourselves up for, that we have to, again, work the 9 to 5 or coach others or, you know, serve other people in a way. Like, you're just a conduit of light, and you just allow Source to move through you. You'll attract everything that you need. You'll attract everything that is meant for you. You won't have to work for it. And truthfully, you didn't come here to work, right? After all, we are all one. And so my hope is that you take whatever you've learned from this. Feel free to drop it in the comments. I knew there was a reason why this video had to go on. Oh, they're talking to each other now. But that you can zoom out and have a perspective shift and see things from a bigger picture. And if you find yourself in a moment where you're getting too caught up in all the things, just take a moment and stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself why you're getting worked up about something, why something is going the way it is, and maybe just take a step back. It's okay to take space for whoever needs permission. And it's okay to take life not so seriously, because really we came here to be and to have fun. All right, fam. I love you so much. I'll see you on the next one.